Okay, class, so today we are going to be looking more at dot plots. Look at your worksheet or the screen as I read. It says 3 sets of data about 10 sixth grade students were used to make 3 dot plots. The person who made these dot plots forgot to label them. Match each dot plot with the appropriate label. So a couple things I noticed. First of all, these are sixth grade students. There are 10 of them. So that means I should have 10 dots because I know that each dot represents a student. If there's sixth grade students, but how old would we say they are? Yeah, maybe 11 or 12. We could say maybe 11 to 13, just to be safe. So one says ages in years. A ranges from 5 to 9, so that's definitely not ages. B ranges from 5 to 12, definitely not ages. C looks pretty tightly packed. I have one student who's 10. Most of them are 11 or 12, so maybe the student just had a really early birthday. So I'm thinking that 1 is C, so we're going to put a 1 next to C. 2, number of hours of sleep on nights before school days. Number of hours of sleep on nights before non-school days. So you want to think for a second, do you get more sleep before a school day or a non-school day? Turn and talk to your partner. All right, come on back. So hopefully you discussed that you get more sleep on school days. So when I'm looking at A and B, A ranges from 5 to 9. I have a lot of dots in this 7 or 8 range. B ranges from 5 to 12. And I have dots really all over the place. So some people are getting more sleep. Maybe they're able to sleep in a little bit. That could have been part of your discussion. Like they're getting 11 or 12 hours of sleep. But there's a lot more of a range, whereas this looks consistent. Like they're setting their alarm like it's a school day. So 2 should be A because it's a lot more consistent. And then B is number 3. It has a bigger range. 2, the dot plots show the time it takes to get to school for 10 sixth grade students from the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. So when we are looking at number 2, we're going to talk about 2 words here, typical and variability. I'd like you to write these words over here. Typical means average or normal. So when we're looking at the typical response in a dot plot, we want to look for where there are a lot of dots in one place. When we're talking about variability, we're looking at differences. So dots spread out all over the place. It's kind of like range if we think about mean, median, mode, and range. So A says list the countries in order of typical travel times from shortest to longest. List the countries in order of variability from travel times from least variable to the greatest variable. So over here to the side of each one, I think it's going to be very helpful for us to write 2 letters. One is going to be T, or typical travel time, and one is going to be V, variability. I'm going to do it for the United States and Canada, and then I'm hoping you can do it for Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. And it's okay if some of these are a little bit of an estimate. So United States, I'm looking for where there are a lot of packed dots, and I'm seeing that there's a lot of packed dots between 5 and 10. So I'm going to say it's about 8 to 9 minutes. Then I'm looking for variability. I'm seeing dots that range from right here between 0 and 5, it looks like maybe 2 to 3 minutes, to about 20. So I'm going to say 3 to 20, which is a range of 17 minutes. That is for the United States. Now let's talk about Canada. Make this a little smaller just so we can see that it is only for the United States. Okay, so Canada. Once again, I am looking at where are there a lot of dots that are concentrated, and then what is the spread or the variability of the dots. So in Canada, I'm seeing a lot of dots that are concentrated right by this 5. There's a lot between 0 and 10, but specifically they seem to be a little closer to 5. So I might say here 5 to 7 is where I see a lot of dots. And then my spread goes from almost 0, maybe like 1 or so, 1 or 2, to 30. So that's a spread of 28 minutes. And I'm looking for my dot that's closest to 0 and my dot that's farthest away when I'm looking at variability. Okay, go ahead and take a second to do the typical and variability for Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. Pause the video, look up when you're done. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go over this. Start with Australia. I'm going to change my color just so you see the difference here. Okay, so Australia, typical. Where are there a lot of dots? There's definitely a lot of dots concentrated right by 15 and 20. So we could maybe say here anything in the range of 17 to 20 I would take. Variability, I see a dot down here at 5, and I see a dot all the way at 45. So 5 to 45 is a variability of 40 minutes. Okay, let's jump to New Zealand. New Zealand, I'm seeing the most dots right here at 15. So something between 10 and 15 would be good. So typical, we might say 13 to 15, something in that range. Variability, my lowest dot is right here before 5. Let's say that's around 3 up to maybe 24, 25. So we can say to 24. And that's going to be a range of 21 minutes. I'm going to move these up a little bit, make room for South Africa here. Okay, South Africa. Typical. It's really hard to pick a typical time for South Africa because I only have a few with 2, but I'm going to just go with this middle 2 column. So typical we'll say is 10. Variable, I have dots at 5 and I have a dot all the way up at 60. So 5 to 60 gives me a range of 55 minutes. Okay, now we can answer our questions. So list the countries in order of typical travel times from shortest to longest. So here I'm only going to look at my T's, my typicals. So US is 8 to 9, Canada is 5 to 7, Australia is 17 to 20, New Zealand is 13 to 15, South Africa is 10. So I think the lowest we can all agree is Canada. So it goes Canada, then the US, then we had South Africa, then New Zealand, then Australia. Pause the video, try to answer B on your own. List the countries in variability from least variable to the greatest variable. Okay, let's look up when you're done. So here I'm looking at for the biggest range. So I've got a couple of ranges going on here. I've got 17 minutes, 28, 40, 21, 55. So for this question, my shortest variability here is going to be the United States at 17. So US. Next was New Zealand at 21. Then I had Canada, 28, Australia, and most variable was South Africa at 55. 25 students were asked to rate on a scale of 0 to 10 how important it is to reduce pollution. A rating of 0 means not at all important, and a rating of 10 means very important. Here is a dot plot of their responses. Explain why a rating of 6 is not a good description of the center of this data set. Okay, let's pause and talk about what this means. Center means the middle okay, but only when listing all responses from lowest to highest. Here is the problem with picking 6. It looks like it's in the middle, doesn't it? 2 to 10, that's my middle number. But look at how many responses were picked for each number. So I have here 1, 2, I have 1, 3, I have 1, 4, 2 5s, 2 6s, 2 7s. Then I get a lot up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8s, 5 9s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 10s. So if I want to know the middle, I need to know how many people responded. 25 students responded. So if I were to rate the lowest to the highest, the middle student would be the 13th response. If I were to rate them from the lowest to the highest, because 13 is the middle of 1 to 25. So instead of being 6, I want to figure out, well, what's the 13th response? So I can go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because 2 people said 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So actually, the 13th response would be right here in my 8 range. Okay, another way of showing this is to simply list all the responses. So here's how that would go. If I were to list all my responses, I'm going to make this a little smaller just so you can see. Okay, here's my responses. One person said 2, one person said 3, one person said 4, 2 people said 5, so I'm going to write 2 5s. 2 people said 6, 2 people said 7, 5 people said 8, so I have to write 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. 5 people said 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. And then 6 people said 10, so 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. So now I'm going to look for my middle. So I'm going to count 13 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's my middle. There's my center. It is not 6. 6 is way over here. So we have just proven that 6 is not the middle. 6 is not the center. Instead, 8 is the center. Tyler wants to buy some cherries at the farmer's market. He has $10 and cherries cost $4 per pound. If C is the number of pounds of cherries that Tyler can buy, write one or more inequalities or equations describing C. Can 2 be a value of C? Can 3 be a value of C? What about -1? Explain your reasoning. And then we're going to have another equation down here. So I'm actually going to have you pause. I want you to try number 4 totally on your own, and then look up when you are done, and we will go over it.